It's no mystery that Hollywood has an agenda. It has since its inception. But what was once subtle background messaging that allowed the viewer to reach their own conclusions has transformed into outright social platform BS, choosing to beat the viewer over the head with the writer's stances on issues, devolving the once subtle background messaging into blatant pandering. There isn't a bigger instance of this in gaming than The Last of Us, where the first game introduced us to gay characters in the form of secondary story elements.
Hold your horses, I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together?
Because the character's sexuality has never been important in a post-apocalyptic zombie scenario. However, the second game decided to dial that shit up to 11 because it is the successor to one of the most popular video games of all time. You're obviously going to play the second game. You're hooked now. Might as well do some agenda pushing while we're at it.
Room's starting to spin real fast. Because of gayness.
Just like with everything else, though, the second season of The Last of Us show took all of the controversial elements of the game and somehow made them worse, throwing off entire relationship dynamics and deconstructing characters for the hell of it. 3 ways HBO fucked up The Last of Us. Let's talk about it. I shouldn't have to do this, but let me make myself perfectly clear here, because I know there's going to be a certain small subsection of people that are going to and start calling me a homophobe. I don't give a damn that gay people exist. You do you, man. I don't care what someone else does with their own life. But I do think the show bringing Ellie and Dina's relationship to the forefront of it when it was always in the background in the game is very off-putting. It threw off a lot of major scenes that were adapted in the show and disrupted some of the more emotional moments, something I'm going to go over in this video. If you're new around here, I've been covering The Last of Us Season 2 since Episode 1, choosing to break down specific scenes and comparing them directly against their game counterpart, alongside this new 3-part series where I go over in depth the 3 biggest ways HBO screwed up the events of that same game. I only have one rule around here: attack the opinion, not the person, as all comments will be allowed. There is no moderation, and I've spent the last 2 months responding to any and everyone, whether they agree or disagree with my opinion. Over here, we believe in thoughtful, open discussion, so if that interests you, consider subscribing to the channel. I also don't pull my punches, and I try to deliver honest, unfiltered, uncensored criticism. With that being said, throw a like on the video if you like what you hear, and let's get into this.
Whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
I think the most jarring thing about Season 2 is the emotional tone they set out to make in the show, and how starkly it contrasted with the tone of the game. If The Last of Us Part 2 is anything, as controversial as it is, it's a tale of anger, resentment, revenge, and the cost associated with all of that. But with the show, those kind of elements are few and far between. Instead, the show focuses on Ellie and Dina's relationship and how it flourishes, which was never, ever a focal point of the game. See, Dina served as the yin to Ellie's yang, helping temper her in dire moments, pulling her back from the brink of madness, and keeping her from turning into something she would never want to be.
I made her talk. It's okay.
Not in the show, though. As a matter of fact, I'm going to skip forward a bit just to illustrate how dumb this is. But do you remember Episode 5? Remember how Dina goes off on a very emotional dialogue about how her family perished earlier on in her life? Yeah, that never happens in the game. Granted, there are a few short bits of dialogue about Dina's sister, but her whole family getting killed off amongst all the panic was never an element the game touched on. But, that's not the big deal here, and for what it's worth, I actually liked the monologue because it was truly touching, and was an exhibition on just how much range and talent Isabel Merced has. What is the big deal is that Dina has to remind Ellie why the hell she's out there in Seattle in the first place. You remember Joel, right? You know, the protagonist from the first game, Ellie's mentor and father figure that was killed right in front of her very eyes in a very brutal fashion.
Joel, please get up! No! Please don't do it, please! Please don't!
Yeah, that guy, that moment, had almost entirely disappeared from the show at that point, and it's Dina who has to bring it back up.
Whatever reason Joel gave those people to do what they did, he didn't deserve that.
Not Ellie, not Tommy, Dina, which if she maintains this attitude of seeking revenge against Abby, will change some very, very important story moments during Season 3. Yeah, season 3. I'm sure it's going to be composed of 4 whole episodes that take 5 years to make. I mean, seriously, HBO, only 7 episodes to tell Ellie's side of the story? Are you fucking stupid? Who in their right mind thought, oh, hey, let's take 20 hours from the damn game and condense it all down into... Sorry, I got a bit off topic there. So, yeah, revenge, anger, that whole bag, that's the center point of the entire second game. But if you didn't know that beforehand and you'd only watched the show, you would have never figured it out, because Ellie and Dina did everything short of skipping to Seattle. Speaking of skipping, where the hell is Shimmer, Ellie's horse, in the last few episodes? Did they just leave the horse back at the record shop or something? There you go, Demon King Kozar. I brought it up, just for you, my man. Anyway, I think the biggest difference in Dina and Ellie's relationship from the show to the game happens in episode 4, which single-handedly produced the most cringe, vomit-inducing piece of feminist LGBT garbage dialogue I think I've ever heard in my life.
I'm gonna be a dad.
Fucking quiz!
What in the absolute hell were the writers thinking here? Now, I'm not going to get into the hilarity of this scene because there's thousands of YouTubers who've already done that for me, but I think it's important to note just how drastically this scene was changed from the game just to push the, oh, Dina and Ellie are just a happy lesbian couple, look at them, message. Newsflash, in the game, they weren't. See, in the game, once Dina reveals to Ellie that she's pregnant, Ellie reacts in a way that any normal, non-rainbow colored brain matter person would react. She instantly gets angry, questioning why Dina would risk doing anything she's done thus far, knowing she's pregnant.
How long have you known? I was late a few weeks ago.
A few weeks? We could have still turned back.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure, okay? I didn't want to be a burden.
Well, you're a burden now, aren't you?
This showed to me and plenty of other players that Ellie truly cared about not only Dina's welfare, but her child's as well, calling into question the safety of the entire situation. This is followed shortly by Ellie breaking off, annoyed with the situation and wanting to think on it, so she goes to clear the theater of infected. And that's actually what happens in the show as well.
Bye!
Of course it fucking doesn't. That makes too much sense. What does happen is that cringe piece of dialogue, and then Ellie proceeds to stick her rotten, dirty little booger hook in Dina's no-no square right there in the middle of the theater lobby with God knows how many infected or WLF militants around them. Just what? What the fuck?
Fucking quiz!
Good lord. It gets even worse after that as we go into episode 5, beyond the Dina monologue that I got way ahead of myself in mentioning, where Ellie and Dina are faced with what I call the children of the spores. This scene never happens in the game either. Why? Because Dina is left behind at the theater like any normal damn pregnant woman would be. Hello? You're gonna just have a pregnant woman out and about on a revenge mission with God knows what around every corner? Yep, they sure do, and while all this is going down and they're surrounded by flesh-eating, creepy-crawly mutant people, guess what they decide to do? Act quickly, throwing their plan into action? Look for an avenue of escape? Nope, Ellie just says she's going to let the infected attack her and only her because she's immune right after they share a big old smooch. So not only should Dina not be there in the first place, but they do something no human in their right mind would do in the moment, and that's have a nice, tender, emotional scene right smack dab in the middle of all the chaos. Just
Quiz!
Well, thank God Jesse showed up, not only to save them from the children of the spores, but because he brings up another point I need to make. Yes, Dina is very much devoted to Ellie in the game, almost unreasonably so, and her love for Ellie happens a lot quicker instead of this slow burn. Let me fall for someone with an obvious cavalcade of middle issues, but oh, let me go sleep with my ex-boyfriend and get pregnant while she's in a fucking coma nonsense. I keep getting off track here. Sorry, I've done too many of these videos and it's starting to affect my mental stability. That's good for y'all though. You at least get to see someone associated with this show get angry, because Ellie sure doesn't. Anyway, I think it's an important distinction to make that Jesse and Dina still have a relationship in the game, albeit it's a friendly one, but it helps establish that Dina is actually bisexual and still shares quite a bit of emotional chemistry with him. So much chemistry that Ellie even noticeably gets jealous of their relationship once they link back up with him in Seattle.
You don't need to do that.
Oh, shut up. So when'd you leave Jackson?
Day after you, there was bad snow and I crossed into Oregon. I've been doing 18 hours straight.
Not in the show, though. Dina is as gay as ever been. So much so, she treats Jesse like absolute shit even after he pulls an arrow out of her leg, saving her life. Soon after, Ellie treats him more like shit, despite him saving her girlfriend's life, and it's so tiresome, man. Every single male character in this fucking show is either stupid, cowardly, or dead. But hey, at least Jesse somewhat stands up for himself. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of that. Oh, I'm glad to see that some of his final moments in the show were him being treated like absolute garbage.
Well, shit.
I don't want to drone on for a 15-minute video, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that every single chance the show has to cram the lesbian storyline down our throats, showing us how happy and giddy Dina are to be together, they do, which takes away from a lot of the major conflicts the two have in the game. Their relationship added an extra layer of emotion and tension to the game's background, trying to balance love and care with revenge and anger. I didn't much like the second game, but I will at the very least say that was an interesting dynamic to explore. So of course that was 100% absent in the show. Anyway, if you got anything you want to add, whether you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments down below. I've been answering any and every one, so if I don't get your comment right away, I promise I will. I appreciate y'all for checking out my video. I'll talk to y'all later.